Baseball's the one that matters. 4-game NBA slate.
Yeah.
That can wait. We don't need to get that out ASAP.
That is correct.
What's up, everybody? Tuesday, April 2nd. Another day of lovely baseball. Another day to stack the Blue Jays and be depressed about it. That's what I always say.
What a garbage team they are.
They are my number one stack already today. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I mean, it's really not. It's not unwise to go back to that well. Listen, Dan Strafford actually on the early bird mentioned, he's like, how important is having, I'll call it amnesia when it comes to this. It's super important. You got to have a short memory with a lot of this stuff because things change. Okay, yes, Toronto got no hit through 6 innings against David Hess. It's really unfathomable. It is.
Yeah, that's the most preposterous thing ever.
Justin Smoke is now 0 for 11 with 8 strikeouts against David Hess. Listen, I'm not a BVP guy, but get it together, pal. I mean, that's just absurd. It's really crazy. It really is. You know what? This is one of those teams, Josh, that's going to have these bad games. Like, Smoke has always been a super streaky bat.
Yeah.
McKinney's got plenty of talent and potential, but he's still, what has he got, like 100 career plate appearances?
Yeah, it's not a lot.
Brandon Drury might be batting at the top of the lineup, but he's been a utility guy basically it's not a star-studded lineup. They're just cheap, and they've had great matchups, and they failed us every time.
It hasn't been good, and I'll do it again today too. Glutton for punishment. But that's baseball for you. You have to be ready to lose way more often than you win. I don't mean like in a tournament sense, but like in your decision-making process.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same as basketball.
No. And I mean, well, you're right too, especially as far as hitters go. Like you hate I hate this stupid cliche, but it is true. Like the best hitters are successful just over 30% of the time. So it would be silly to think that you're going to, get every stack right and every individual hitter right each night.
Yeah, it's not how this is going to work. It's too hard.
And the worst part too is you could have a guy that goes 3 for 3 with 3 singles. And then another guy goes 0 for 3 over his first 3 plate appearances and then has a 3-run shot against the reliever when they're down 9-0 in the bottom of the 8th. You know what I mean?
And that home run is massive.
Right. It's right. It changes everything. But
you have that stack, it might be worth 40 points.
Yeah. And say like you're feeling good because you faded that's like the Yankees stack a couple days ago. I faded Yankees entirely, uber chalk, feeling good about it. And then it comes, I think it was like 9th inning and they pile on 3 or 4 runs. It wasn't enough for Yankees stacks, but at the same time, granted, Baltimore's bullpen, I forget who was out there, but still, that's another thing is you can project who's going to pitch out of the bullpen, but you don't know because you don't know how early the starter is going to get yanked. You don't know what the score is going to be.
You can know who's available, and that's it.
Right. Right, exactly. So depending on what the score is, depending on how long the starter goes, it's out of your control entirely.
It totally is. It totally is. 6-1 game is going to bring in a much different reliever than if you're down 6-1.
Yeah, or if you're up 4-3.
Right. It's so much fun. That's kind of why I like baseball because it allows me to have to pay attention to a lot of different things because no team is really just I can't touch that thing today. Like if that's a good example, the Dodgers Giants today or something, Giants aren't going to be very popular, super low run total, or even Nats Phillies, which we'll be starting off with here. I'd love to have a couple Philly stacks even against Scherzer because Scherzer will be crazy owned and there is leverage to like being on the opposite side of that. And a couple days out of this year, like Scherzer's going to get knocked out of there in 2 or 3.
Yeah,
that
literally
will happen.
Literally a couple days.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably 2 starts a season he gets just shellacked early because it happens to everybody.
How about those schedule makers, man? Harper in the second series of his first season with the Phillies heading back to Washington. That should be a fun game for sure.
They're going to boo the living shit out of him, huh?
It's funny, they asked him about it after the win on Sunday Night Baseball, on ESPN, and he's like, "There'll be some cheers, there'll be some boos, I'm looking forward to it." So he's kinda just, you know I'll be honest, I
You
love
realize he's
Harper.
in the Northeast?
What's that?
Does he realize that he's in the Northeast? There will
I
be
know.
no cheers.
Yeah, honestly, it'd be a lot worse if he was a Philly and then went to Washington.
Oh, and then came back to Philly?
Yeah.
Dude, I think
He might
about how
not make
long
it out
Philly
alive.
hated JD Drew. I
Oh,
mean, it's
god.
like, they
Yeah,
still hate him.
I know. Well, he was an asshole, though.
Sure, I don't disagree. But I mean, just for being like, "I don't wanna play for Philly."
Right. Well, right, no, yeah, right. In Philly fans' eyes, he was an asshole, yeah.
Sure.
But honestly, they'll treat you real well if you don't leave by your own accord, like, and, you get sent off and you always played hard. They will that's a misconception.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
15 years from now, Joel Embiid's gonna be able to run for mayor.
yeah. Well, unless he's like, "I want out of Philly,"
Sure.
several years down the road. But if he were to get traded and, he'll always be beloved in Philly because he never did anything wrong. All he did was play hard.
Yeah.
For now,
Sure. Yeah, I remember going back to, like, one of those early JD Drew games and him just getting destroyed verbally.
Yeah.
Sitting
You're
out in
right,
the
though.
outfield, they're just oh my god, it's the Russell Westbrook thing times, like, a million.
Big time.
No
You're
one gave a
right, though,
shit in, like, the mid-2000s.
The Northeast, you're right, is a different animal, isn't it?
Yeah, in 2002, if you're sitting in the right field bleachers or something, or center field bleachers, and you're yelling at JD Drew in Philadelphia, there is no limit to the words that are coming out of your mouth. It's just you're not being real kind about your roasting in that one. They're like,
No,
those guys are getting it.
we just got someone that hit us up in our premium Slack chat. Dante, going to the game tonight, Josh and Laffy. There's plenty of FUCK Bryce Harper shirts and altered jerseys at the stadium on opening day. Yeah, I bet. And it also probably doesn't help that he has 2 monster home runs in his first 3 games. Like, if he was 0 for 12, they'd have big grins on their faces. I'd be the same way. But because the Phillies, are 3-0 and they're playing well and Bryce is hitting, this is going to be an electric atmosphere to be at if you're a Philly fan or a Washington Nationals fan. It's a fun game. I'm going to the one on Monday, which is the Nationals' first game at Citizens Bank Park since Bryce Harper came. Won't be as emotional, but my guess is you'll hear when Bryce Harper comes up, any Nats fan will be drowned out immediately.
Yeah, that's for sure. You ready to talk this slate? 10-gamer?
Let's do it. They gave him a standing ovation when he walked. Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, man. Nats and Phillies. That's where we're starting. 4.1 run implied total for the Nats, 2.9 for the Phillies. That's sad. 65.
That seems very low. Yeah.
That's Max Scherzer for you.
Best pitcher in the game, no question. But it still seems low given the meat throughout that lineup.
Yeah, 65% chance to win for the Nats. As we mentioned, Max Scherzer on the hill for Washington. Zach Eflin going for Philly. That's probably not helping either.
No.
We'll start on the Nats side. They're probably going to slot in as like an average stack for me. I'm there. I'm not there with any sort of real volume. Oddly enough, I'm on more of like the lower portion of the order than the top. The top is already priced up. But they're kind of just there for me. I don't have any real major hot takes for the Nationals. I'd say on FanDuel, I probably like Ryan Zimmerman as the best bat relative to salary, and that's never a stance that I like to take. At least not in 2019.
Yeah, so sorry. Okay. Here's how I see it. Zach Eflin made like marked improvements last year. But sorry, did you start with the Nats offense or the Phillies offense?
I started with the Nats offense, but I mean,
All right,
feel
good.
free.
Well, no, just because I don't think we're going to spend a whole lot of time on the Phillies offense.
That's a safe bet.
And the truth is, this is okay. We look at the improvements the Phillies have made offensively, and they're huge. Okay, they're huge. They are going to be one of the best offenses in the league. don't sleep on the Nats offense though,
No.
right? Just because you don't have Bryce Harper does not mean, and look, I'm not telling anyone anything they don't know, but this is still a very good baseball team. I mean, I don't think anyone would be surprised if the Nats won the division, assuming they stay healthy in the rotation. Um, you know, I look at Zach Eflin, and while he definitely made improvements last season, there are still some elements of his game that can get him into trouble. Now, one good thing is that if you're Eflin, you're not pitching at Citizens Bank Park. It's still early in the season, so you're not going to have nearly as many issues as far as the long ball goes. But it's a pretty, I'd say it's a neutral to slightly pitcher friendly park in Washington. While Eflin improved and held righties to a sub 290 WOBA last year, really good mark against righties. I mean, 0.87 home runs per nine, Josh. Those are good marks for sure. Lefties was a different story. He allowed 1.5 home runs per nine, 355 weighted on base average, a 216 ISO. And you look at some of these batted ball numbers, you know, a fly ball rate over 40%, line drive rate upwards of 22%. All of those things probably work against him in this matchup against the Washington Nationals. Look, do I think a Nat stack is in play? Absolutely. No question. But if you're not stacking, you're going one off or even two or a mini stack with three. I would like to target the lefties here, at least a couple of them. Also, keep in mind with Trey Turner, JT Realmuto is a huge upgrade, not at just at the plate, but behind the dish.
Yeah.
He's got a rocket, right? He's got a laser. He's got the best pop time in the game. I believe pop time is less important than the actual pitcher, but still, he is very good at gunning runners down, Josh. So while Trey Turner will run on anyone, it is still a downgraded matchup for him than it would have been last season.
Very good to point out. Yeah, absolutely. He was terrible against righties last year too, wasn't he?
Yeah, I can't. No, I thought it was against lefties, wasn't it? I can't remember now.
Something was like really amiss.
What I do know is that Jorge Alfaro, you know, and then JT Realmuto, big difference. Big difference. He was terrible against.
Might beat me.
See who gets there. So he was terrible again. Well, I'll go to weighted on base average. 326 WOBA against righties. Okay, you're right. 345 against lefties. I mean, that's not too far off. 326 is still above average.
I mean, I remembered it being worse than what I'm looking at either way. So
yeah, league average is around 310, so it wasn't spectacular.
Yeah.
But you know, Trey Turner's power against righties and lefties was pretty modest at best.
Yeah. So right now, Nats are 9th of 20 for me on FanDuel. Still just playing FanDuel, no DK until NBA is done.
Wait,
yeah.
9 of 20 in terms of offense?
No, they are my 9 in terms of my exposure. They are 9th of the 20 teams that are on the slate today.
Okay, so in terms of stacks.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I meant. I said but okay, sure.
So I'm there, but like it's not. I don't have any like real hot takes.
I probably like him a little bit more than that, just because the only reason would be that I know Eflin has some serious tendencies to get himself in trouble here. But you know what though? I think I'm probably going to end up closer to you because the lefties are scattered in this lineup. It makes it more difficult. Yeah. It isn't to say that you can't play righties against Eflin. I'm not saying that, but it would be nice to have a nice little string of lefties there. Because Juan Soto would be my clear favorite here.
Yeah, I've got 11% right now, which is the most I have of any other Nat.
Okay, and I think that makes sense. Yeah, Juan Soto for me. Trey Turner will run, but we can't just say, oh, he'll run. It is a bad stolen base matchup or base stealing matchup. Actually, I want to check real quick. I won't spend too much time on it, Josh. I just want to see yeah, I will. I want to see Eflin's stolen base totals. Yeah, he only Phillies weren't great. Nola, Arrieta, a bunch of, but he only allowed 10 in 24 starts and 1 in 11 starts the year before. So base stealing has not been an issue for Eflin, and now he's got Realmuto. I think you're probably right to have them right around the middle of the pack, but Soto and Eaton I do like quite a bit here.
Okay. You trying to get to any of your Phillies bats as a running up against Max Scherzer here?
Look, man, the question is, does will sites price them down according to the matchup? And the answer is yes. Bryce Harper's $4,500 on DraftKings. You're still talking about one of the best power hitters in the game.
Yeah.
I don't believe in revenge narratives in baseball. I don't believe your hand-eye coordination improves, you know?
No.
I don't know. Maybe there's something to be said about adrenaline, Josh, but, if anything, you would think it would become worse. But 4,500 is really, really cheap in this matchup. I am not saying I like the Phillies. All I'm saying is that you now have a Phillies team that is probably the cheapest they will be all season
Yeah.
for obvious reasons. But just, Reese Hoskins is 4,100, Harper's 4,500, Real Muto's 38. These guys are really, really cheap, and that's the only thing I can say. But I think it's worth pointing out. Yeah.
Yeah, I have 7% aggregate ownership to the Nats. I have 3 to the Phillies. So they're like my 14th or 15th stack, something in that neighborhood. I will have a couple lines coming back against Scherzer. I think the bigger question in all of this is, how do you feel about Scherzer? On FanDuel, we have 4 guys above 10K. Scherzer, Verlander, Sale, and Snell. On DK, Snell is under 10K. Other 3 guys both have pretty high price tags. Scherzer the most expensive on both sites. Are you getting to him, or are you prioritizing other big arms?
So looking at the Phillies active roster, if you were to take their 2018 numbers against righties, their K rate would sit 14th in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Gene Segura struck out oddly 3 times in a game this year. Very strange, but very low strikeout guy. Bryce Harper is going to strike out. We know that. Odubel will go fishing at any pitch, even if bases are loaded. What an asshole he is. But for the most part, this is not a huge K-heavy team. Just last year, so Harper was a 25, Hoskins 24. And then you basically have your McCutchens, your Herreras, your Real Mutos, Franco, Segura at 21, 20, 19, 13, and 11. It is Max Scherzer, though.
Yeah.
So this is not a great strikeout matchup, but it's still, the best fantasy pitcher in the game. We have 10 games, though, on this slate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are a few guys that we'll get to that I find pretty appealing. So I don't hate Scherzer. I never hate Scherzer. But and this is not the cop out. To me, Scherzer is going to heavily be influenced based on what his projected ownership is. If everyone's fading him because, oh, look at the Phillies' new look offense, then I will have a lot more interest in him. But if he's going to be just as popular as he normally is, I think we can go elsewhere, at least more than I normally would.
Yeah, so I got 12% on FanDuel on my preliminary crunch. I prefer Sale and Snell by quite a bit to Scherzer. But so Scherzer is third for me in that crop of 4 at the top.
Gotcha. Okay. Makes sense to me.
Yeah. Like I like Max here, but those other guys just have better spots and more advantageous K matchups and better price tags, as much as that matters.
I could see Scherzer giving up 2 solo shots and striking out like 11 or something. It wouldn't be a surprise.
Yeah. And I assume that we both have very little interest in Zach Eflin as an SP2.
Yeah, that is correct. A lot of righties, a lot of projected righties, but still, I don't think you need to go here.
Okie doke. You ready to move on?
Let's do it.
All right, time to talk about the definition of insanity. Blue Jays taking on the Orioles. 5-run implied total for the Jays, 3.5 for the O's. It's a 66% chance to win for Toronto. Marcus Stroman on the hill for the Jays. Andrew Cashner going for Baltimore. I don't have any Stroman on FanDuel. Again, I don't have any Stroman on FanDuel. I don't have any Cashner. Are you looking to Stroman at all on DK?
Yeah, I am. He was my second high when he pitched last time. I think he was my second highest owned pitcher. And I was perfectly fine with it. A couple of reasons. First of all, well, here's the one problem. Stroman was a lot cheaper in his opening day start. I think he opened. It might have been second. It doesn't matter. It was earlier, much cheaper. But what's encouraging to me is that we know he wasn't right last year, right? Like we know he was not right. And all signs pointed towards him being a lot better. Listen, he walked 4 batters in his debut, but he only allowed 2 hits, and he struck out 7. All right, and on top of that, he got 13.8% swinging strikes, Josh. So these weren't just looking strikeouts. This was solid, and he had he got what's 47% outside contact. Some of the contact numbers, and it's only one game. I would have liked to see it improve a little bit, but for the most part, everything looked pretty solid. I liked what I was seeing from him, and I do think, and I think you would agree, when healthy, Marcus Stroman is not a bad pitcher.
No.
He's not an elite strikeout guy, but and I get it. Baltimore has been scoring runs. I simply don't expect this to last. Sorry if I'm a pessimist, but it's very difficult for me to see this continuing. I think this is a good spot for Stroman. His velocity was, sitting where it should be, mid 93, 94, and everything looked pretty good. The last thing I'll say is as far as pitch mix goes, he was basically two-seamer, slider, and cutter, and whiffs per swing on these pitches. The slider, he got 86% whiffs per swing, and he threw the pitch 35% of the time. So he had that on a absolute row. I mean, that's insane. It's only one start, but basically missed bats every time they swung.
I've liked that dude for a while. He's never really going to be able to put up monster K numbers just because of his size. But he's a really good. I mean, Steamer has him for a 4.08 FIP. That is a solid pitcher.
Sure.
I think that 8300 price tag on DraftKings is a little high for him here.
Yeah,
but it's a matchup against the Orioles. I mean,
exactly. The matchup's clearly baked into the price tag, but
it is.
If he went 7 innings, 1 run, and 8 strikeouts, I wouldn't be surprised. If he got the win here. Look, simply put, a healthy Stroman would probably be worth 8,300 in this matchup. It's the higher end of what you're willing to pay, Josh, but I don't think it's totally prohibitive to where he needs to be ignored.
Now, on a different day, I would kind of like him on FanDuel because his chances of picking up a win and getting that quality start are really good in comparison to a lot of guys here. But
yeah, good point.
I mean, there are so many high-end arms today. You're like, it's really while those things are likely, they're just as likely for Chris Sale and Blake Snell,
Sure.
Barrios.
Sure.
There's so many names on here that it's like if Marcus Stroman pitched yesterday, I might have had 40% of him.
Right. No, for sure. Oh, absolutely. I think I'd have probably had more than that given our options. Yeah. They're the second biggest favorites, 197 on the money line. 3.5 run implied total for Baltimore. Look, the odds early in the season, I get skeptical at times, and really just in baseball in general, right? Like, what was the money line for James Paxton the other day? I think it was like minus 400, and they lost that one. But yeah, it's a good spot for Stroman, man. And there are plenty of strikeouts in this lineup. He's also going to face a good amount of righties.
I assume you're going to have no issues going to the Jays bats. Not a lot of fear in my Andrew Cashner matchups, that's for sure.
Yeah, I have issues with myself for even considering it, but
yeah,
Andrew Cashner is like the Mark Burley of the past few years. What I mean by that is nothing to suggest that he should be able to get outs. Mark Burley towards the end of his career, I don't know if you remember this, you just stack heavy against him, and every time it would go against you.
And then you would get that one start every like 3 or 4 weeks where he gave up 7 runs in an inning and a third. And you're like, okay, yeah, that's why I was doing this.
Yeah, exactly. God, it's a tough one, but what choice do you really have here?
I mean, FanDuel, it's ridiculous. Smoke is 3,600, and then everybody else is 2,800 or less. They've got multiple guys at the minimum salary. Brandon Drury leading off at 2,200. Like those prices mean that you can get whatever you would like.
I think you don't think McKinney leads off again against the right.
He's not in my current projected lineup, but
he's not.
I mean,
okay,
maybe. Well, See, sometimes I get to the projected lineups too quickly in the morning. I'm up at the ass crack of dawn every day.
Yeah.
So let me see if that has
So you're
changed.
getting there before the night before rolled over, right? Is that
Maybe,
what
or
you're
like
saying?
before they put in any work as to like correct it.
I mean, hey, you could definitely be right. I do. McKinney started yesterday, and then on Sunday it was Danny Jansen, but that was against a lefty.
Yeah.
And then on Saturday it was Drury with McKinney batting second. So this could go a number of ways. I think McKinney.
He is not listed in the projected lineup that most of us look at.
Right. Yeah.
uh, I mean, I
I
had
think he's
McKinney as
still
my home
starting.
run pick last night in the Live Before Lock show, so that didn't go well.
I mean, look, he was a really good play. If McKinney gives you nothing leading off against David Hess at that price, you live with that. You deal with that.
I mean, we're going to look back at the end of the year and think, why would we ever want to take Billy McKinney against Cy Young Award winner David Hess?
Oh, don't do that to me. Don't do that.
The dude hasn't
No,
given up a hit this year, right?
It's crazy. It's crazy. But I mean, look, you're right though. At these costs, you're gonna have a tough time getting away from it. Andrew
Yeah.
Kashner was also getting a lot of strikeouts last year against righties early on, and those numbers started to dissipate quite a bit as the season went forward. And I think you're probably going to see, second half version of Andrew Kashner. Or sorry, against lefties, he was striking them out more. He ended up finishing the season with 17% strikeouts against lefties, 11.9% against righties. He had a 1.8% K minus BB rate, Josh. So that's not good. I mean, God, 1.75 home runs per 9 to lefties, a boatload of walks, sky high WOBA.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got 10+% to the first 6 hitters. I've got 9% Rowdy, 9% Galvis. The only guy that I'm not really getting to is Danny Jansen. He's 2,300, but he's hitting 8th. So there's just, with that catcher first base dual spot, if you're hitting at the bottom of the order, it's really hard for me to get you without being like a really high end bat. I can't get away from these guys. I mean, if Randall Grichuk continues to be sub 3K on FanDuel, I don't know how to fix my crunches. He won't
Right.
stop coming up.
Right.
I might as well just get his jersey at this point. God, I feel like a family member.
Yeah, it's rough, man.
Yeah, I don't know what to do to not. I mean, there are clearly going to be chalk. Second highest implied total. When you look at who they face, it's Andrew Kashner, and everybody just kind of knows that he sucks because he sucks. I don't know what to do to get away from it. When it hits, man, it's going to create some really fun scores.
Yeah, it is. And it should come as no surprise that, like yesterday, they have the second highest implied run total on the entire slate.
Yeah. Just be cognizant of, like, if you're double stacking, be cognizant of who you're stacking with the Jays. Like if you're playing cash, it's one thing, but if it's I've got the Jays and I've got the Astros and I've got Max Scherzer, like, just know you're fighting an uphill battle.
Hey, and by the way, just to mention this, if you're not a big believer in Stroman and you're thinking like, oh, low owned Orioles stack, I'm not going to tell you not to, but I will say this much: even when Stroman isn't at his finest, a lot of it is he very much loses his command, and maybe he gives up one home run, as we saw but he is not somebody that gives up a lot of power. He'll get blooped to death. He'll get BABIP to death. We saw it, but Stroman has done overall a pretty solid job of limiting home runs, even when he's not at his finest. So not always the best guy to stack against, even if you don't want to roster him.
I'm going to be getting back to my Orioles bats again today.
Yep. Well, that's exactly what I just said I'm not doing. So go ahead.
That's why I'm going to it. Yeah. Look, it's another situation where they continue to be dramatically underpriced. Trey Mancini, 3,200. Everybody else, sub 3. Again, this is FanDuel, where pricing's stupid. They have 3 guys at the minimum, 2 guys at 2,200. with all of this high-end pitching that is out there today, it just stacked up. The Orioles are a team that will pop up for me as filler stacks. So they'll be in the middle of a pack. I'm not saying they're like my number one stack or anything today. And as our ownership comes out, they'll slowly trickle down. That's a factor in the way that I rank my lineups. But I will have a little bit of Orioles because they're so cost efficient.
Right.
It worked out pretty well yesterday out of the gate. For a second, I was just I'm going to ship a bunch of shit if Chris Davis puts this in the cheap seats.
You were right on that one. Stroman's the type of guy that I've never been big on stacking against. He's like even when he's poor, even when he doesn't have his form, he's not somebody that really gets burned up too bad. Especially against lefties too. He's had over the past couple of years, some odd reverse splits against lefties. Take that for what it's worth. But overall, yeah, not a guy that I'm big on going against because he does a good job of limiting power.
The only thing that's going to keep my Orioles ownership down is the fact that I don't expect Stroman to be that owned on FanDuel. So getting a lot of the Orioles, I'm not exactly like leveraging any Stroman blow up.
Yeah.
Like, if Stroman is 2% owned on FanDuel, I don't need the Orioles to be like my number 6 stack for cost effectiveness because
Look
the
at
leverage is already just there.
His blowups are always like one trouble inning.
Yep. I got nothing left here. I'm going to be really heavy on this game from a hitting perspective with, 75% of the exposure going to the Orioles.
Yeah. I'm cool with that.
Okay. Move on. Those two games are going to take way longer than most of the rest of these because, well, obviously we're going to go long on the Phillies, and then the Blue Jays are a chalk stack. Like this game, for example, Marlins and Mets. 3.8 run implied total for the Marlins, 4.2 for the Mets. It's a 55% chance to win for New York. Jose Urena going for Miami. Jason Vargas going for the Mets. I do not have either pitcher on FanDuel. I can't imagine anybody wanting to do this on purpose. I have 2% aggregate ownership to the Mets bats, 0 aggregate ownership to the Marlins. This game might as well not be on the schedule. So this is more of a DK game if you like Urena or Vargas as an SP2.
Yeah. Look, back of the rotation for the Mets. Jason Vargas has a good changeup, but he also is absolutely prone to giving up a decent amount of power. I think he gave up almost as many home runs as starts made last year. Let me check. 18 home runs and 20 starts. Like he's going to give up power. The problem is, where's it going to come from, Josh? And it's not exactly, not exactly a favorable park for hitters. It's
not at all.
No, I'm not particularly excited about this one. He's pretty much, as far as ground ball rate goes, pretty much right around slightly below league average, but he's not an extreme fly ball guy. Look, I don't think Jason Vargas is great by any stretch. And if you're targeting him, you're playing righties. He allows a lot of home runs, a lot of pop to righties. But where are you going here is the question. You know?
I would have some Vargas as an SP2 on DK. There's just no real bats for Miami.
Right.
Like Peter O'Brien K's in 36% of his plate appearances. He has the highest ISO from Steamer in this Marlins lineup at 182. Like that's not even high. The next closest guy to him is Brinson at 163, and after that, you're in the 140s. They have 3 guys that are below at 110 or below, and I'm not even including Urena batting.
Are you using versus lefties or overall?
Just overall. Just
okay. Yeah, because if you take their 2018 numbers for this active roster, not one active roster batter had an ISO over 155 against lefties. That is unbelievably bad.
Yeah, I mean, only Brian Anderson projects with a weighted runs created plus north of 100.
Yep. And Vargas last year had an expected ISO a lot lower than his actual ISO allowed to lefties. His ex-WOBA was lower. And get this, against righties, Jason Vargas had a 13.3% swinging strike rate. So, look, obviously, we're going a bit off the reservation here, but you're talking about a very bad Marlins team, a very good pitcher's park, and a guy who, on occasion, will put up solid numbers. If you're full out punting the position and you need an SP2, yes, Vargas is not your craziest option at all here. Everything works in his favor. The only thing that could hold Vargas back today is the fact that he's Jason Vargas.
Exactly. He would be my favorite pay down option on DraftKings. I might have to run some crunches just to see how that comes up.
I don't think it's crazy, Josh. Plus, they're going to run out a super righty heavy lineup, which normally would be just death for Vargas because of the power, but they don't have the power. And he struck out 22% of righties last season. Again, 13+% swinging strike rate, only a 6% walk rate. Those are not awful numbers. They are league average, if not slightly above, slightly better. Swinging strike rate's way better, but K rate, walk rate, it's all league average. Yeah. So if you're getting league average, if you're expecting league average numbers against the Marlins, you can get better than better than average results.
Here's a question for you. Just off the top of your head, first thought that comes up. How often does Jason Vargas get 20 fantasy points on DraftKings today?
Do you have the number here? Or you just...
I have my guess.
Yeah. Okay. How often? I'd say got to be at least 40%.
Okay. We are in way different. We're not even remotely close.
What do you have?
3%? Yeah.
To hit 20 DraftKings points?
Yeah.
So I think it's probably somewhere in between. 40 is probably a lot high.
Oh, I think I'm a little low there too.
I think 3 is a lot low.
Although early in the season, depressed innings, I don't know.
I don't know.
It felt a little low. That's why I was asking.
Will he have suppressed innings?
I mean,
is he actually going to?
I guess he is Jason Vargas. Not really saving him for August or anything.
I don't know. I guess I'm just thinking, against this team, how difficult would it be to... I'm just looking at his final starts from last year. He had 20+ fantasy points in 5 of his last 6.
Yeah, dude, that stretch of the season was really interesting.
It was really impressive. I think 40% is obviously high. I also think 3% is very
I don't disagree that I'm low.
To say that 97% of the time he's finishing sub 20 against the Marlins at Marlins Park with this lineup, probably low. And again, high on my side as well.
Let me pull him up. I want to look at his game logs for last year. That does make me want to dig into it a little bit further. Yeah, and then there was that stretch where it was like negative. I don't know. Maybe I don't hate it as much as I thought I did.
Yeah.
He went negative in his first 3 starts last season.
Oh, well, his first few starts were historically bad, and then he really turned it around. By the way, that was a good question from, I think it's Liquid Kerpens. I love the guy, just can never pronounce his name. About how to understand projected stack ownership. You should explain that to the viewers. You're a stud with that type of stuff.
Yeah. It's real. So when I say, I have 2% aggregate on the owners on the Mets, what I'm doing is I'm adding together all of my Mets exposure and dividing that by 8, basically, which is the amount, at least for FanDuel, which is the amount of ownership that I would have to all of the hitters. So you get 8 spots. So what would be the example?
Yeah, do an example formula.
So I have the Mets. I have 19% total ownership to the Mets. That's the sum of every individual player. So
if you had 2% this guy, 5% this guy, so and so, the sum of all of that is 19%.
Yep. So what you're doing in that situation is taking that 19, so 0.19, dividing that by 8, which is you get 800 total % of ownership across your hitting positions, which is 2.4%. So I have 2.4% of my hitting exposure goes to the Mets. The highest number that I have today is the Blue Jays at 14.
14. Yeah.
Something in that neighborhood.
It's a good explanation.
But yeah, so we don't have them visually represented in our ownership projections. We do have the individual players. You just basically just add them together.
Yeah. No, I think it was a good question, though.
No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I didn't mean when I said add them together in the chat. Like that's just because there's no position for me to like fully type out that answer. So I'm glad you prompted me to talk about it.
For sure. Yeah.
Are you going to get to any bats?
It's gonna be tough. Jose Urena is not a bad pitcher.
No.
He's just not a good fantasy pitcher, right? Because you're not gonna get a ton of strikeouts from the guy, but he's not bad. And also he's somebody that when facing same-handed bats, he's actually been very good. So I probably the Mets have been the Mets are a revamped offense. Pete Alonso got his first home run yesterday, and it was a monster shot. Not sure if you saw that, but it was a blast. I don't think I get there. You know, if you just go and look at Urena's numbers, he has really stifled righties throughout his career. No power whatsoever. Really doesn't even allow them to get on base. Ground ball rate is 50+%. A lot of soft contact. That's tough for me to get to. And as far as lefties go, he has improved against, or he has been bad against them for his career. Not a lot of strikeouts, but he's improved to the point where it's not really ever a incredible stack, especially at Marlins Park.
It's really hard to stack anything in that park.
Yeah.
There's not going to be a lot of times where you're like, we'll be able to make it through this, because it's just a really terrible place to
For sure.
try to acquire fantasy points.
Yeah, it is.
Get out of this game.
Let's do it.
Because really, nobody cares about that. The Marlins and the Mets.
No, sir.
While we're here, MLB Strategy is the promo code. I didn't hit this out of the gate. 50% off your first month with us. Any monthly package you choose, including packages with Fantasy Cruncher. So if you want to check out all of the content that we are churning out right now, just use that promo code MLB Strategy. One big word when you enter it, you get 50% off. And hit the like button. It's really helpful for us. It allows us to grow as both a YouTube channel and as a website. So just a little bit of help, just clicking that thumbs up would be much appreciated. And just so everybody knows, directly after this show, Lofty and I will probably go grab a water, leak the lizard, and then we'll be right back to plow through 4 NBA games.
That's right, baby. Stick around.
Yeah. Rays and Rockies. 3.9 run implied total for the Rays. 3.1 for the Rockies. It's a 59% chance to win for the Rays. Blake Snell on the hill for Tampa. Kyle Freeland going for Colorado. Snell's my dude today. He will be one of the 2 highest exposed pitchers that I have. It's really difficult for me to get away here. That's a really nice implied total on the Rockies. Lots of swing and miss at the bottom of their projected order. Snell has monster stuff. Price tag is appealing, at least on FanDuel, where he is the 4th highest priced guy of the big 4. So I like Snell. He's my number 2, but he and Chris Sale are both going to like bump into my ownership caps. I can't get enough of them. How do you feel about Snell on DraftKings today?
I'm on board. Snell and Sale got blowed up.
Yeah,
in their first starts, huh? Yeah. That was an interesting one, but really, there's nothing that I take away from that outside of they will be better. Blake Snell is outstanding. This is a guy that I've been on. I anyone that's watched our shows for a long time, if you back at FanVice or talk about, I'm getting on the Snell elevator, and every time you get close to that top floor, the cables snap. You're dead. And then finally they didn't.
How long have you been calling it the Snell elevator? Or did you just come up with that on your own?
No, a long time.
Okay.
A long time. I mean, it's ridiculous, but I enjoy it.
I like it.
And
I'm going to steal that and claim it as my own.
Go for it, man. Spread the love. But finally, I was let off at the top floor, and I survived last season. Now, Blake Snell was a guy that they'd send him down to AAA. He would be unhittable. I mean, unhittable. And then he comes back up. You got the big lights, and he couldn't hack it. Glasnow's another guy that I've been very high on for a while now. and I'm hoping that this is the season he finally comes through. Berrios was another one. You're finally starting to see everything come together for these guys because they do have just a pure talent. But Blake Snell, the K upside is through the roof. 30+% K rate versus lefties and righties last year. Swinging strike rate through the roof. Good park at Tropicana against the Rockies team. You mentioned not only do you have a lot of strikeouts at the bottom of the order, but you're talking about a team that is very much labored away from Coors Field. That they have not been good outside of Coors Field, and it's tough to. Can Blake Snell get tuned up a bit here? Yeah, sure, anything can happen, but this is still a really favorable spot. I think this might be the first lefty the Rockies are facing this season too.
That I have no idea of.
I believe it is, Josh. So, yep. Well, no, I don't know if you want to consider yesterday because they faced Stanek and then Yarbrough was the long man, but it is the
Yarbrough
first.
got the win, right? So I guess I assume it didn't go all that well.
Yeah, but I'm saying as far as starting lineup goes, will we see anything change up here? Probably not. I mean, yesterday you still had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 righties in the lineup.
I mean, they
Blackman.
should change it up. In no situation should you be trotting out lefty, 1, 2, and then 7 righties against a lefty pitcher. That's
Right.
terrible roster construction.
It is. No, I totally agree with
Most
that.
managers are stupid, so it doesn't shock me at all.
No, I agree with that entirely. We'll see. Maybe McMahon. You think maybe McMahon is out of the? I don't know.
I don't know. I have 0 Rocky stacks right now, which will change slightly. I'll end up with 1 or 2 just because I assume Blake Snell will be hella chalky, and I like to have at least a bullet or 2 in the gun for those situations. But I'm not excited about it. I mean, to have Arenado and Story is not the worst idea in the world if their ownership is depressed because of who they're facing. They're high-end hitters with power against lefties, so I'm not too worried there, but Snell's my dude. That's the guy I want the most out of this game by far, and second most out of anybody on the entire day.
Right. Yeah, the Snell for me is very much in play here. What are your thoughts on the other side with Kyle Freeland?
I mean, he's very much not in play for me on FanDuel. I can make a case that I think he's the worst play on FanDuel. He is the 6th most expensive pitcher. And on a day when he's topped by Scherzer, Verlander, Sale, Snell, Barrios, we've got Greinke, Bumgarner, Ryu. Like, there's just too many names for me to even think about wanting to go to Kyle Freeland. Razor, a tough out. It's a solid lineup. I can't really get to him on DK. Where his price? Let's sort that.
7,900.
Yeah, so him being 9th is a little bit more appealing. But if I were playing on DraftKings, I don't anticipate that I would be getting out anything outside of like a lineup or 2 one-offs.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
No, I'm with you, but I have a lot of respect for Freeland in the sense that he's, as far as run prevention goes, he's a good pitcher. So
yeah, he's a much better regular pitcher for today than he is in DFS perspective.
Exactly. Look, you're talking about a guy last year that if the one thing the Rockies have done is they have found guys finally that can pitch inside Coors Field. The guys that are actually, we're not talking Jorge De La Rosa and guys that maybe he had a good year.
Him.
Yeah, right. But with Freeland, he was still very good at home. Like a 300 WOBA against at home in Coors, that's pretty remarkable. Given the climate, given the elements there. I have a lot of respect for him, but that doesn't mean that I'm interested in him. I will say if the Rays do run out of not a 9 righty, but a very heavy righty lineup, which I would very much expect, that's even worse. Freeland struck lefties out at 28% last year, Josh. So close to elite. I consider 30% or higher like that elite mark.
Yeah.
It's arbitrary. It's my own, but I think that's pretty much. I think you'd agree. It's right around 30%.
Yeah, for sure.
And he was 28%, but against righties, 18%. You're just the upside isn't there for Freeland.
I agree. Rays are 6% aggregate for me right now. One thing I do want to point out for the Rockies, Arenado and Story are both 4,500 on FanDuel. They are 41 and 4,200 respectively on DraftKings. That is not how this normally works.
No, DraftKings is definitely you're seeing matchup based pricing for sure. Phillies and Rockies.
That makes me like Arenado and Story a little bit more on DK. I would probably work them in as one-offs if their ownership wasn't getting there.
I totally agree with you on that.
But yeah, Rays will be a middle of the pack stack for me. Biggest focus would be Avisail Garcia, Yandy Diaz, Tommy Pham at the top, and then Zunino is the flat minimum, so he kind of gets worked in. I hate taking catchers, but I feel a little bit better in situations like that because I think that the matchup is good. It fits him well, and it's not like he's going to, I wouldn't expect him to come out of the game all that often.
Yeah. Kyle Freeland also pretty good job at limiting base runners.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think he's ever allowed 10 stolen bases in a season. So take that for what it's worth. Tommy Pham, on the other hand, I don't know what it is. And I noticed this after 2017. He, for some reason, appears more willing to run on lefties and has more success against them. It's kind of strange, but Tommy Pham's success against left-handers as in stolen bases over the last couple of seasons, pretty high frequency given you're facing a whole lot less of them.
Yeah.
And he had the same amount
of... God, his game is boring.
Yeah, we can move on.
I'm just trying to look at everything, and I'm not used to looking at all of my baseball stuff yet to see what's standing out. And then I look at it and it's just like, oh, that's both teams are under 4 implied total. Like it's just this isn't super appealing. And Freeland's decent.
Yep. No, Freeland's a good pitcher.
We got some chalk coming up in this one. Heading to the 8:00 games. Rangers 3.7 run implied total. Astros 5.2. The 66% chance to win for the Stros. Shelby Miller on the hill for Texas. Justin Verlander going for Houston. Verlander, second most expensive pitcher on FanDuel, second most expensive pitcher on DraftKings, and he is fourth of those top 4 for me in terms of exposure. I have a little bit, but I think this is the least advantageous matchup of all the 4 starters.
I agree. By the way, one of my best nicknames I think I've ever come up with, and it's a simple one, but it is Shelmy Miller. Not bad, eh?
How many nicknames are you going to have for players today?
I'm
really excited for this. I feel like you don't have any for basketball. This is like a new wrinkle in your analysis. I'm liking it.
It's tough to come up with nicknames for Rodions Kuruks and names like, those are a whole lot tougher. Like Jonas Valanciunas, we just go with Joe Val. Yeah. By the way, he's done for the year too. Obviously not serious, but all the good big men are going down.
Yeah, they are.
Shelby Miller is one of my favorite though, and it couldn't ring truer given Shelby Miller and how he plays. Look, Globe Life Park is not it's not the same Globe Life Park as it is in July and August. No. July and August, it 100% rivals Coors Field for the best hitters park in the league.
Yeah.
Coors Southwest.
Yep.
But it's still
Coors hot.
Yeah,
hot
sure.
Coors.
Sure. It's still a good park.
Drinking a hot Coors, how awful that would be.
Ugh.
They're tough enough cold.
Drinking a Coors. Yeah. Exactly. You got me to it. 70 degrees, around 67 degrees midway through the game. Like decent temperatures. It's still good hitting weather.
Yeah. I mean, it's the best hitting weather today, basically.
Right.
Relative to the rest of the slate, it's still tops.
Well,
it's just not what it will be.
If Marlins Park roof is open, it's probably our best hitting weather. But
do you think the Yankees roof is open today?
Huh?
It's a callback to chat. It's not important. Sorry, go on. There's
Uh,
like 5 people that will love that.
okay. I'm like, wait a second. Didn't they just build $1 billion stadium? I don't think it has a roof, and I
No,
don't think this is on the slate. Yeah,
certainly
I don't.
doesn't. Certainly doesn't.
So I'm assuming someone asked if Yankees roof will be open.
Yeah, don't worry. Slack in like 5 seconds when that audio hits will be there for us.
Is this something from this season?
Yeah, it's opening day.
That's pretty
Hi,
incredible.
Dave.
I've been at that stadium when we went to FSTA for New York. It's not bad, but I was a little underwhelmed.
I was never there. I only went to the old one.
It's nice. I mean, it's definitely nice, but my goal is to get to all 30 parks. I would love to do that. Do like a road trip in the summer.
Good luck with that.
I don't think it'd be that difficult.
Thank God we don't have any teams in the Dakotas.
I'd go to hell, dude. I'd go to the Dakotas. Come on, man.
Yeah, but that's a really hard place to like go to on a whim.
Yeah, I'll tell you. There is one park. Can you guess what park I would skip? I have extreme hatred for this park. We haven't done a lot of baseball shows together. Adam, Dan, everyone would know what this park is. I'm sure there are viewers right now that know what this park is. I hate it. I have an extreme disdain for the people that built this park.
Rays?
Yes. Tropicana Field is the most poorly designed stadium ever.
Dude, there's no reason I should have got that, and I
That
got
was
that. Well, I mean, mostly because that stadium sucks.
And there's no reason I should have acted like that wasn't a good guess. Nice work. That park is trash, man.
Yeah.
Like, you literally have balls banging off of catwalks. What were you thinking? Like, why?
It's like my middle school gym. You had to take a little bit of the arc off your shot because you'd hit the rafters.
Right. But
people didn't shoot threes when they built the school.
Right. Yeah, I would skip that park, no question. And I'd be perfectly okay with saying I did 29 of 30.
3 straight messages in YouTube chat. Rogers Center, Kansas City, Wrigley sucks.
No, dude, I definitely go to Wrigley, whether it sucks or not. I've been to Fenway, so that doesn't matter. Rogers Center. How about this? I want to go to Rogers Center more than almost any other park.
Weird.
You know, what's that?
Weird.
No, it's not weird. I'll tell you why.
You love Canada?
No. They have I don't hate Canada, but they have something very, very unique and special about that park, and it's what I would do. They have a hotel built into the park, right in the outfield. So you can wake up, right? I'll sleep till noon or something, and then I'll order room service. You open up the curtains, and you are in the game. Do you know how cool that is?
Crank one out against the glass like in Succession.
Rub one out. Like,
sorry, Tom.
Smoke.
Sorry, Tom.
Yeah, you can't get me. Tell me that's not a cool concept.
No, that is really sweet. I just can't go to a place where they spell center R-E instead of E-R. It's just not for me.
And leave the D out of Rogers.
Yeah.
No, look, that's a park that I would enjoy. And Kansas City, Kauffman Stadium, I got no problem with that. I'd go there.
Yeah. I have not been to Wrigley, but my wife had tickets in like the 3rd row behind home plate, so she doesn't give a shit about baseball.
Cool.
Yeah.
Have you been to Fenway?
No. But that'll probably get checked off my list this year.
When Al Smizzle was doing the boot camp, I was doing a presentation, and he
I've seen those pictures, I think.
He got the club box, which was very cool. They have the garage door opener thing, or like the old school garage door on the chain where you pull it up in the club box. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Yeah, it's a pretty neat park, and it's classic. But I'm too tall for it. You're walking through the concourse, and the roof's like 6-7 foot. I'm 6'1.5".
Okay, I was going to say, like, how tall are you? Because I mean, I only ever have seen you basically sitting down. So.
Yeah, you're taller than I am, aren't you?
I'm 6'2".
We're pretty much the same.
Yeah, that's why I was curious. Yeah, I'll probably check Boston off the list. One of my best friends just moved there a couple months ago. So
cool. Give me some good park suggestions for you guys watching. I definitely want to hit the best ones first.
Yeah,
I know PNC is supposed to be really cool as well.
It is very nice. Okay, back to Rangers Astros, I guess. So we know that we don't like Shelby Miller.
Shelby Miller.
Shelby Miller. Yes, let me make a note of that.
You'll learn.
What do you think you're going to do with Verlander?
So, well, hold on. He's not the number one you were talking about, right? That was Sale.
Now, yeah, Verlander is 4 of 4 for me. I only have 9%, Sale and Snell are my 1-2.
So I have no problems with Verlander, but he's kind of just coming up as a okay pitcher in this spot. Um, the the Rangers do have strikeouts in this lineup.
Yeah.
Joey Gallo is definitely someone that will strike out a lot, but there actually aren't as many as you'd think, Josh. Like Chirinos is gone. Uh, um, Mazzara, Andrews, no Beltre, so that helps opposing pitchers. But
Miss that dude.
What?
I miss that dude.
I know. Choose like a 19-20% guy. What's Drupal Cabrera's got to be sub 20% too, right? I don't think he's a high K guy.
In Steamer.
What?
18% via Steamer.
Okay, 18%. So who are their guys above, say, 25%? Gallo and
Jeff
maybe
Mathis.
Yeah. Guzman, I think Guzman's either really high or really low, one or the other. I can't remember.
He's 23.
Okay, so he's neither of what I just said.
Spot on the number.
All I'm saying is there aren't that many strikeouts in this lineup.
No, I'm actually getting to a little bit of the Rangers. I have 7%, particularly Chu, Odor, and Gallo. Like, if this goes wrong, they've got a lot of lefty bats and a lot of game-changing power. If Chu's leading off, I'm always interested. So I'm actually hoping that Verlander gets to some ownership because I'm naturally going to come in a little bit lower, and I'll already have my hedge stacks, and I don't have to like make any adjustments manually.
Right. My top pitcher yesterday was Brad Peacock, as far as price range goes, and I was not disappointed with those numbers. 6 2/3, 2 hits, 1 run, 5 strikeouts. But I was surprised that he only had 5 strikeouts. Brad Peacock has nasty strikeout stuff. Usually doesn't get through 6 innings. I all I'm saying is I wouldn't be as surprised if this Rangers team, because last year they were a pretty heavy K team against righties. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see that as much this year.
Neither would I. That's not a bad lineup. I mean, 8-9 Mathis to Shields is real shit, but the rest of it's good. The first 7 guys are functional.
Right. It's showing against righties, the active roster last year would have been 6th with a 23.5% K rate. So it's higher than I thought. But how much of that goes to Gallo? Like how much of that goes to 2 hitters that just totally throw it out of whack?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, Gallo at 34% via Steamer, Jeff Mathis at 29. Those are pretty aggressive strikeout numbers. And Jeff Mathis ain't hitting anything after that. 109 ISO, 60 weighted runs created plus. That dude only strikes out.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, isn't it? And I mean, do we assume he'll be in the lineup today?
I mean, I'm assuming it as of 10:26 a.m.
Right. Well, because that would help Verlander, of course.
Yeah.
But really, Chu 22%, so not low, but also not like Chu's not a guaranteed strikeout.
No.
Drupal Cabrera last year was 20%. Kenner Falefa 19%, Mazzara 18%, Andrews 16%. So, like you said, you have Mathis, you have Gallo. Guzman was 29% last year in 322 plate appearances against righties, and then Odor was at 24. So was the Shields. You know what? I will let me backpedal a little bit. There are, looking at this now, just based off of last year's numbers with a decent enough sample on these guys, there's a good amount of strikeouts.
Yeah, I have them at 23% today.
Yeah,
as a team, and that's weighted by plate appearances.
I was probably a bit off on that. I'm still adjusting to some of these new lineups, so I got to go back and look. But they also have about 5 guys or 4 guys that don't strike out much at all.
Yeah.
They have around 4 guys that will strike out a lot, and I think that should be enough.
Yeah, it's a lot of like stars and scrubs of strikeouts.
Absolutely, and Verlander still won't be a top option, but as far as 1 or 2, but he's definitely in the top 4 today.
I assume we are both very interested in stacking the Astros. One thing I want to point out, Carlos Correa's price is still stupid on FanDuel.
Crazy.
$3,000.
Crazy. Wait, he dropped $200 since yesterday?
Was it $3,200 yesterday?
Yeah.
Then yes.
Wow.
So, that's kind of dumb. That's kind of dumb. But Astros are my number 2 stack as of right now. These things change and I make adjustments based on ownership, but just raw data, it's really hard to not think I want to have a lot of these guys.
I'm with you. They've they've been pretty disappointing
They have.
to start the year. That all changes today. That changes today. I just typed accidentally in Fangraphs SHELLME.
Did it come up?
Yeah, right.
Maybe they know.
I mean, really, what do you expect seriously from Miller this year? Don't even not steamers or anything. And what I'm saying is, do you expect to see? You can use steamers projections. It's probably our best bet anyway. But do you expect to see any improvement for Miller? And the reason I ask this is because he only faced about 80 batters last season, right?
I mean, not in Texas, I don't.
Right. I mean, what a bad spot. What a bad spot. But when's the last time he threw a lot of innings? He threw 100 innings in 2016. That's the last time.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, his chances of being what anybody thought he was going to be 6 years ago are long gone.
Batted ball numbers like ground ball, fly balls, those they normalize faster than really any other stat.
Yeah.
If he can get ground balls, that will be the one way to keep his head above water, like to stay in the rotation. If Shelby Miller can, give you a ground ball rate close to 50%, otherwise he's done.
I'm going to really enjoy having a bunch of hitters against him today.
You have to. And I know the Astros are always really appealing against lefties, but I mean, they are dominant against righties. A lot of these same-handed hitters just crush them. So
I mean, that's what happens when you have 4 hitters at the top of your order that are all-star caliber hitters.
Tell me about it.
It doesn't really matter what other hand that dude uses. He could use them both.
Right? Last year, isolated slugging, Tyler White against righties. He might not even be in the lineup. If he is, he'll probably be the bottom. I was surprised he wasn't yesterday against yeah, he was. I think he batted 7th or 8th. 245 ISO, Bregman 243. And then it comes down a bit where you've got Springer he had an off season. But as far as WOBA goes, all of these guys get on base at a very, very high clip. Correa is the only one where does Correa see a bounce back year is the question.
I hope so. Until they adjust his price, I'm going to have a lot of them. So I hope he starts bouncing right about now.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if he does or not. You don't 3K on FanDuel.
Yeah, I have no choice. And all I ran were 4-4s to start the day, dropping out if I had a pitcher.
Right.
At the end of the day, I'll be running 4-4s, 4-3s, 4 with nothing, and just taking the best. So as I do that, the ownership of those mispriced guys will go up and up because he will get slotted in as a one-off shortstop way more.
Yeah.
I've got nothing else here. I mean, just stack the Astros. It's Shelby Miller sucks.
If kind of Felifa's behind the plate, just keep in mind that we don't have a huge sample, but another guy that's done a very solid job of preventing stolen bases. For whatever that's worth.
Good pointing that out.
I think it's something that goes overlooked a lot in baseball. There's certain guys that hitters or runners won't even run on.
Yeah.
Tucker
certain guys that they won't stop running on.
Exactly. Barnhart's a good example. He's got a cannon and he can throw runners out, but no one hesitated to run on him. Now that DraftKings doesn't take points away for caught stealing, I don't care if you're good at holding runners. Because your success rate is still going to be, a good success rate is still good enough for runners.
Yeah, volume is everything there.
Right. If you're not afraid to run, like Yadier Molina, who even knows if he's still good at holding runners? No one runs on him ever.
Run on him in 15 years.
Right. So as long as you run, it doesn't matter. The guys that they literally do not run on are the ones that I care about the most. Yeah. Your success rate matters less to me than the frequency of attempts.
Yep. Totally agree. Royals and Twins, 3.5 run implied total for the Royals, 4 runs for the Minnesota Jakes. It's a 57% chance to win for Minnesota. Brad Keller on the hill for Kansas City. Jose Barrios going for Minnesota. I do not have either pitcher. I don't imagine that I would have either guy on DraftKings as well, just because of their price points. I don't know, maybe Barrios. Let me look and see where he's landing. Yeah, I wouldn't get any volume of pitching here. The only thing that stands out to me would be a little bit of twin stacks. They're probably in the middle of the pack, but ultimately this is mostly just an innocuous game.
Yeah. Take this for what it's worth. Last year, Jose Barrios was his home and road splits were alarming, Josh. And I mean, like, eye-popping differences at home and on the road. You can look at almost any stat and pull something up and say, wow, how is that possible? 249 WOBA allowed at home, 341 on the road. Huge, huge difference. On the road, he allowed a 220 ISO. At home, a .094 ISO. Like these numbers are insane. At home, 0.5 home runs per 9. On the road, 2.0 home runs per 9. I get it's only one season. Oh, and his K rate was separated by 6% as well.
And his walk rate was higher, which is that make like those two things should not be like that big.
I know, dude. I know. Go and look at two. Here's why I bring it up. Go ahead, take a look at 2017. The same damn thing, almost more extreme.
Does he have some weird color scheme problem like Ryan Anderson?
Right. I don't know what it is, but you can't. This is not something I can comfortably overlook.
No.
It's insane the differences here. I mean, in 2017, 0.4 home runs per 9 at home. Elite. 1.38 on the road. 26% K rate at home, 20% on the road. Walk rate, 3% higher on the road. Yeah. WOBA, 345 on the road, 246 at home. That's 100-point difference in 2 straight years.
Okay, like a full run of XFIP.
Yes. Yes. His ISO is almost 100 points higher. No, more than 100 points higher on the road in 2 straight seasons.
That's good info, man. It makes me happier that I'm not getting to him at all.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to say. If Barrios was at home, God, I hate being the home road splits guy, but I can't ignore this. It was something I came across, like, I guess 5 or probably 10, 15 starts in the last season. And I've been trying to track it ever since. I think you also make a good point in that you kind of don't need to get to him anyway here.
Yeah.
90 Barrios sub 10K will be someone I roster a lot this season. I love Jose Barrios. I think he's got phenomenal stuff, but it's easy for me to get away from him here at Kauffman Stadium.
There's too many dudes today.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there are 4 Cy Young candidates at the top of today's slate.
So right.
It makes it a little bit more difficult. Keller seems a little overpriced. He's my 19th. Nope, that's bad math. 17th ranked pitcher on DraftKings, so not a guy that I'm going to get to. Twins are in the middle of the pack for me in terms of stacks. They're pretty cheap. They're just like a notch higher than those other teams that are uncharacteristically cheap. I would have liked to get to Barrios here if his price was a little lower, because there are tons of strikeouts in this Royals lineup.
Right, for sure. There are. It's funny how much how much a team can change over a couple of seasons.
Yeah. I mean, from 2 to 8 in their projected order, no one is lower than 23%. A lot of 24, 27, 28, 29, 25. Like, they're hitting every notch coming up that ladder. The only one that doesn't really K is Merrifield.
Right. So what are you doing here then?
I have essentially 0 Royals, no pitching, and a mid-tier twin stack.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah, Like Max Kepler grades out really, really well for me on FanDuel. $2,500 outfielder projecting to lead off. Has a little bit of pop, lefty righty. That'll be a guy that gets a decent amount of exposure for me. He stands out among Twins bats. Polanco, Cruz, Rosario, they're getting most of my exposure. And then I like using someone like Scope at second base. He's got some pop as well. If you can steal a home run for 2,400, that is always a nice spot to be in.
Yeah. Brad Keller is actually not that bad.
No.
He really does such a good job of preventing home runs. Like a really good job of preventing home runs. And that to me is something that I've kind of shied away from when going against him. And it last year when he started making starts, he had a very short leash at first, but
Yeah.
you look at his home run rates, they are minuscule, and his ground ball rate is around 55%. These are the type of guys that I try to avoid.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
He's just like fine. Yeah, that's why like I'm cool with not having a ton of it. This game's just sort of there.
Right.
I don't anticipate it being popular in any piece.
Right.
I got 1% Mondesi, and that's it on FanDuel. I can't imagine I would be getting to all that much on DK.
No, I'm definitely not here. Like I said, with Berrios, yeah, that's concerning to me, but it's more so like I just likely won't have Berrios.
It would matter a lot more on a different slate.
Right. Going against him is something I'm less inclined to do here, I think. And another thing, you're not exactly getting discounts on these Kansas City bats on DraftKings, at least.
No, you are not. Just got a really exciting text message. FedEx package getting delivered today. The wife and I got into a Kickstarter for new non-stick pans. They're getting delivered today.
Wait,
Kickstarter. No? Website where you pledge money to back business ideas, so to speak.
No. I know exactly what Kickstarter is. What's that have to do with non-stick pans?
That they were on. We were in their Kickstarter for non-stick pans. They have like a new coating or some shit.
So, like, did you pledge to them?
I did.
Oh, so then they sent you pans.
Yeah, they're coming today. Got
Okay.
in on this like 6 months ago. It's been a long wait.
Very cool. I know people. I guess I got a bad taste in my mouth. I remember people on GoFundMe that were like asking for people to go fund them for like random stuff for them and their family and everything. And
No.
I mean, Kickstarter is obviously a lot different, business ideas.
Yeah.
But I was having trouble putting together pans being shipped to your door and Kickstarter, but that makes sense now.
Yeah, they got a fun video where they put an egg in the pan and they can blow air underneath it and you can see it like bouncing off the pan. So I'm really excited to crack an egg in the pan and see if I can blow it out of the pan onto my stovetop.
Beautiful.
I got to get a life, man, but adulthood's weird.
It is. I got my new bed delivered today and I couldn't tell you how happy I was.
I'm surprised you're not doing the pod from there.
I should be, man. I should. They even set it up. That
So
was
great.
They just came on in and said, "Upstairs, fellas. Make it snappy." I didn't do that.
Sorry, I diverted this. You want to talk A's, Red Sox? A's 3.2 run implied total, Red Sox 4.3. It's a 62% chance to win for the Sox. Mike Fiers going for Oakland. Chris Sale going for Boston. Chris Sale is my dude today. He is my number one pitcher on both sites. This is a fantastic park for him. I'm certainly a little nervous about some of the righty power in Oakland, but the park kind of offsets that a little bit. Plenty of strikeouts to go around from Oakland as well. I can't avoid it. Chris Sale is the guy that I want to have more than any other pitcher on today's slate. Yep. For right now, if his ownership is 38% and I have 38%, then I probably redistribute around some of those dudes at the top. But just purely grading out for me, I can't imagine not having Sale.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I'll tell you after the show. TNCB. I'll tell you after the show. But I ordered it on Monday, they delivered it here by yesterday. The other place I ordered it, they told it was gonna take 5 up to 5 weeks. I called and canceled. We'll talk, but I'm not not on the show. People might not like me for that. Yeah, so I went to Overstock and now when you
Overstock.
flip
I've been getting a lot of uh, uh, fuck. Now I can't remember the word. Infrared sauna ads from Overstock lately.
yo, you know what pisses me off?
Every day.
You know how, you have cookies and everything's tracked and all if you're looking at a mattress, every banner ad for the next 5 weeks is for mattresses,
Yeah.
right? Whether it be for Puffy or for Purple or for Casper.
Puffy?
What?
Did he make mattresses now?
Dude, no, but Puffy mattresses are beautiful. Check
Okay,
them out.
I'm on
Check
it.
if you need a new mattress, check out Puffy mattresses. Um, what pisses me off is they can get all that information can go out there. So why not have a little bit of respect? Have a little bit of courtesy. And when I buy a mattress from you, let the other mattress manufacturers know that I'm out of the market. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
you can share all the other shit, but now for 5 months afterwards, I gotta get ads about mattresses. Even with the ad blocker, it doesn't matter because you still get the banner ads and stuff. Show me a little respect. Let them know, hey, purchased a mattress. We won. You can stop sending him ads now. But they don't do that.
Wait, you mean to tell me that after you buy a mattress, you're not naturally looking for a second mattress?
Exactly.
That's not a follow-up purchase for you?
Right. Like if you're gonna do it, just buy a couple at once.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you're doing the whole house, buy several mattresses at once. It's like I'm not gonna buy one from Casper and be like, let me see what Purple has. No. Let him know. He's off the market.
All right, talk to me about Sale because people aren't fond of him today because he didn't have a good first start and his velocity was down.
Yeah, well, let's see. Let's pull a couple things up here.
I mean, it was down like pretty aggressively. I don't disagree with it.
Let's pull him up on Brooks.
I can't make decisions on the first start of the season.
No, let's take a look on Brooks. So, velocity was, oh my god, yeah. I mean, that's significant. I I don't know. Sometimes reading into it too much gets you into trouble.
Yeah.
Like, we had a couple of years ago, Dylan Bundy come out sitting 95, and then very next game and the game after that sitting 91, 92. There's few things that that can change in the blink of an eye. I'm looking here. Chris Sale's velocity in first Boston Red Sox start. Not an is. Let's see. Is it what is this? Tell me this is from first Boston. No, it's new. It says first Boston Red Sox start. Not an issue. Potential injury seems very unlikely. So what's the problem, if any? I'm not going to read the whole article, but if you want to, masslive.com, it might be worth looking into. I'm probably going to read it if they've done the digging, so I don't have to. Then yeah, I'm gonna look into that. But I'm assuming everything's fine. I will say though, if the velocity to me, Josh, is something to at least have a little bit of trepidation about. A guy like Sale, if your velocity's down, it's going to destroy you. It doesn't mean he could learn to pitch differently. We saw pitch to contact Sale before, but if your velocity is sitting, what did he sit below 93 last game?
Yeah.
That's
so he was below 95 for whatever start he made in April or March of last year and in April of last year before picking it up to having, velocity in August of like 98. So I'm less worried about him as like oh no, his velocity is down and more just like, oh, is he slow to get started?
Yeah. And yeah, you're right. Like his second game of the season last year was below 93 too. I don't have I'm not going to pretend that I have an explanation off the top of my head for it because I don't. But, well, I guess let me ask you this. What are your thoughts on Oakland's offense? Against the
So
lefty, of course.
I'll end up having a little bit, but not much. I mean, for me personally, implied totals rule the roost. I don't begin to think that I know more than the crowd-sourced public. So they've got a 3.2 run implied total. It's a really difficult park, first and foremost. It's, in theory, a really difficult starter. I find it hard to get to anything for the A's outside of just trying to leverage stack against Sale ownership.
Yeah, and I'm not even talking about getting to them, but more so how it affects Sale because you have Chris Davis and Chapman. They're gonna. I mean, running out an all righty lineup is not your concern.
No.
It's more so how does this matchup look for Chris Sale, and I mean, are there going to be strikeouts here? Yeah, there very much should be. Uh, it's interesting. I'm having a tough time with the velocity, and it could be nothing. Like it very easily, as we all know, could be absolutely nothing.
Yep.
But is it?
It started trending down in August and got pretty low for him last year. But he's starting, essentially right where he was last year. It makes me worried that, he's not totally ready. I'd like to. Where were his start? Okay, so his first two starts last year were in Tampa and Miami. I was going to say maybe he was just in cold weather cities and it sucked, but
Right.
nope, about as warm as it's going to get in March and April.
Right.
Tampa and Miami, traditionally warm spots.
Yeah. No.
Every time of the year.
You're absolutely right.
Look, I'm going to him until I hear otherwise. I'm not reading into a single start. I just can't do it.
I'm okay.
Now, again, if he is owned at 40%, that changes the equation. But
why is Fangraphs displaying nothing? It was just working a minute ago. That's weird. Very strange.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is, but I just wanted to see active roster numbers here. But anyway, I guess the question is Sales with those concerns, with those discussion, is Sales still the number one you have right here?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
So even last year, when we're saying that his velocity was down to start the season, first 5 starts, 9, 6, 8, 8, 10 Ks. He's pitching less innings because most people aren't going as deep, but I mean, 8 or more strikeouts in those first 5 starts, except for the 6th strikeout game where he had no walks and only went 5. He's overpriced there. He was 12-2 on his opening day start last year, 12-9 on his second start. He is $2,000 cheaper than that this year, just in case anybody's curious.
I wonder if this depresses his ownership. Because if one start has everyone bucking and now Sale is way less owned, the conversation dramatically shifts. If Sale is everyone's afraid to play Sale because of velocity in one start, then how already at that price point you're like, wow, this guy should not be this cheap. But if his ownership is way lower than it should be at 10.5 on DraftKings, and on FanDuel he's what, 10.8, almost $1,000 cheaper than Max Scherzer, then everything changes.
Yep, I'm with you. That will play a really big part, and because that's baseball for you.
Yeah.
How do you feel about a Red Sox stack? Because I'm getting to quite a bit of these first 4 guys.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Fiers is one of those guys that drives me nuts.
Yeah, I don't ever get that dude right.
No, it's really tough to get Mike Fiers right. It's not like we're talking about rostering the dude, but as far by the way, implied run totals here. The Red Sox run total yesterday was at 4.6, and I think a lot of us said, "Huh, that's kind of low." Now we know that Oakland's got a strong bullpen, but they got blanked.
Yeah.
They didn't score a single run. Um, they've also allowed 41 runs over their first 5 games or something insane. The runs they allowed in their first 4 games is the most, I think, since 1977. So, yeah. I mean, the pitching wise, the Red Sox have been getting blasted. They have get this, a 4.3 implied total tonight, Josh, against Mike Fiers. 4.3.
That's way lower than you would have expected.
Yeah, right?
That's for sure.
I would think so.
And yet, 10% aggregate ownership on the Red Sox. They're my number 4 stack. And a lot of that has to do with price. Like, Devers is slotted in the 3 hole at 3,400 as a third baseman.
Right.
I can't avoid stuff like that. Benintendi is 4,100. Xander Bogaerts is 4,100. I'm just playing talent because there are no barriers to talent on FanDuel right now.
I know. No, it's a good point. It makes sense. As the implied total here, I don't really worry about all that much. You know, we bring it up. It's worth noting, but it's not making you're not hinging your entire decision on that.
No,
Mike Fiers is definitely prone to home runs.
he is indeed.
Now, granted, last season, did he pitch the whole season with Oakland?
No. So in Seattle at the beginning of the season, am I right?
Seattle. Was it Seattle?
I don't know. I'm just guessing. That's the way that I remember it.
It was. So Mike Fiers was on Detroit.
Tigers. That I don't remember.
Right.
It was never Seattle.
No.
His entire career.
I was thrown off.
Who am I thinking of? Who got traded from the Mariners last year as a pitcher?
Right.
Someone did.
Who you said? Did you say who?
Yeah.
Someone
did.
I don't know.
Yeah, either way, Tigers, same team.
Wade LeBlanc. I don't know. I don't even know where. Well, the reason I mentioned it is because he made 10 starts with Oakland. I don't know if you remember this, but he actually made some really solid starts. Like,
yeah, he went kind of bonkers there. He have like a no late or like a monster strikeout game or something like that.
Yeah, well, his first start 5 1/3 innings, 8 Ks. Then he went 7 1-hit innings with 8 Ks, 6 2-runs, 5 Ks, 5 2/3, 1 run, 7 Ks, 6 1-run innings, 7 Ks. He got lit up in his last start of the season, but all in all, Mike Fiers really looked good. Now, what do we take from that? How much of that do we apply to this season? Yeah. I would say a little bit. O.co is a good park for pitchers, right? There's no question.
Yeah.
He had a 3.74 ERA and a 3.8 xFIP. His FIP was a lot higher, but a 3.8 xFIP, 43% ground ball rate. If we were to take a look at a few other things here, plate discipline, 9.3% swinging strike rate, so nothing great. Contact numbers were all pretty average at best. K rate was 25%, Josh. So that's where we saw a decent improvement. A lot of home runs though, still, and a 20% home run to fly ball rate. So even though he was getting a good amount of ground balls, a lot of the fly balls ended up being home runs and a lot of hard contact. So I'd say, yeah, he improved. O.co may have done him some favors, but I would expect Mike Fiers to at least go back to being, at best league average.
Yeah, I don't anticipate him being like a fantastic pitcher for any part of the rest of his career.
Me neither. Although at that same time, I just don't know how much of the Sox I'm going to get. I don't know how much interest I'm going to have in this Red Sox team tonight.
I'll have too much. And it's so much of it is just a FanDuel play on price. They aren't hard to get to. And when that happens, I'm going to bet on overall talent more than I'm going to bet on matchup.
That's fair.
So I don't have any A's as of right now. At best, I'll probably have, 2 or 3 4-man stacks out of 150 just to get on the opposite side of some sale ownership. But
especially early in the season, betting on talent is the way to go because we still don't have a lot of information.
We do not have. We don't have any information.
I can hear my dog snoring from across the hallway. You have 2 pugs, don't you? You can probably hear them snoring from down the street.
A pug and a boxer.
Yeah, oh, that's
but
right.
Pug snores like crazy, and then the boxer actually has like a narrow nostril on one side, so he snores like crazy.
Oh,
Because
the
he
old
doesn't
narrow
breathe through as much.
nostrils.
Yeah. Best I can do there. You got anything else in this one?
No, I'm okay to move on.
Three
But
games to go, and we're in for an hour and 35 minutes so far. This feels pretty similar.
well, a lot of these, we're actually not doing too bad. Last thing on this, really pay close attention to Sale tonight. I think this will tell us a lot. You know, whether you play him or not, these are the things you have to pay close attention to. Let's see what his velocity is out of the gate. If he can sustain it throughout the game, if it's back to normal. I'm really going to be focusing a lot on that, Josh.
Okay. Yeah, it's gonna be really important to me because I expect to have a lot of him, so it's gonna dictate a lot for me.
Yep.
Dodgers and Giants. 4-run implied total for the Dodgers. 3-run implied total for the Giants. 63% chance to win for LA. Hyun-Jin Ryu going for LA. Matty Bum Bums going for San Francisco. No chance of me rostering Madison Bumgarner today. Way too many other dudes that I would like. Do you anticipate getting to Ryu at all? Or do you like Bumgarner? I'm just kind of indifferent to the pitching here.
So with Ryu, thanks, Sammy. I appreciate you, bro. With Ryu, I think this is a splendid matchup, my friend. Splendid. There's nothing not to like. Now, I don't know if we mentioned this on the stream or was you and me just talking before we started, but there are a lot of metrics that are not even worth looking at from last season as far as teams go. The Giants, however, you can take pretty much everything and it's applicable for this year because the only notable additions, if you even want to call them that, are Gerardo Parra and Yangervis Solarte. Like that, this team is bad.
Yes, they are.
And you want to take their numbers against lefties from last season. You know, strikeout rate was, I think, middle of the league. Or no, actually, was it really dead last in the league? I swear they were striking out more last year. Maybe I'm just stupid and I got that totally wrong, but I swore it was higher. They have him last in the league. That's crazy. Again, sorry, forgive my mistakes, but I do know they were what, 27th in WOBA. Okay, this is the active roster, but still 27th in weighted on base average, isolated slugging 25th, WRC plus against lefties was 26th, and I would only expect it to get worse, honestly. Like the pitching in their division's gotten better, they've gotten no better. Ryu, the only concern you have ever is, you know, how many pitches is he going to throw?
Yeah.
He's a really good pitcher.
Really hard to trust that team too.
Right. He's been a reverse splits guy. I still have interest though, Josh, and he's a bit expensive, but this San Francisco team is just so bad that Ryu to me is the type of guy that could go out there and toss an absolute gem in this spot. It's just a matter of whether or not you think he's too expensive. I do think he's up there, 92 on FanDuel, 93 on DraftKings.
He's $200 cheaper than Blake Snell, and I don't see them as even remotely comparable today. And that's not I'm not trying to undersell Ryu. I'm trying to talk about how much I think Blake Snell is fantastic.
There you go.
Yeah. Those guys are just so they have such higher ceilings for me that it makes it hard to get to Ryu. So on a different day, he would grade out really well.
Check this out. Last year, Ryu obviously was limited only through 65 innings against righties, but 247 plate appearances or batters faced, 30% strikeout rate, a 2% walk rate, a 2.81 xFIP against righties last season. Brilliant numbers. He really is. I won't use the word elite. I think that would be a bit of a stretch, but he's very, very good. against righties. I mean, very, very good. And last year he took more steps forward. A healthy Hyunjin Ryu is, to me, a a really good pitcher. If he just goes entirely overlooked today because of that Snell price point and because of a lot of guys priced around him, like, I just wouldn't be surprised to see him punch out 10 batters in 6 innings.
That would not shock me at all. There's not a ton of okay, so Dodgers are like high and low again in this, or Giants rather, high and low in strikeout rate. It's like Duggar K's a ton, Michael Reed K's a ton, but then like Joe Panic probably K's less than anybody in the league. Buster Posey does not strike out at all.
Right.
So you're getting a lot of extremes. If he's not picking them up against Duggar and Reed, they're not gonna come against Joe Panic and Buster Posey.
And that's that's your one concern. And he threw 82 pitches in his first start, very efficient start. I'll tell you this much, and this is where I come off of him a bit. If I knew that Ryu could throw 100 pitches today, I'm telling you, Josh, I would have a lot of him. I would have a lot of him.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. March 25th, 1987. His birthday is one day before mine. Same year. No wonder I like this fella. Boy, he has a chubby cheeks. Look at that guy. He got a chubby face.
Let me look at him. Yeah, it's a chubby face.
That's a chubby face, huh?
It is.
Yeah, that's a heck of some chubby cheeks there for you.
Yeah.
But hey, he's really good.
Yeah.
And Dave Roberts is my only concern.
I do not disagree with that concern. Do you have any interest in bats on either side? I don't.
I'm not interested in San Francisco bats. However, Kike Hernandez to me is actually a pretty interesting player. He's very good against lefties. Anybody that's a BVP guy can go look at that one. I think they'll probably find some enjoyment there. But outside of that, I like him as a platoon guy or with the platoon advantage, and you're getting him generally at a pretty nice discount. So I don't have an issue with that. And really, 39 on DraftKings. Really, it's all like Pollock is a great hitter against lefties.
Yeah.
Bumgarner's very good, so I'm not taking anything away from him. But Hernandez and Pollock as just low-owned guys to me make sense. And Justin Turner is one of the best hitters in the game as far as just against anybody goes. So yeah,
I got to point it out. Dave Freese is the flat minimum on FanDuel for a third baseman today.
Okay.
I wouldn't point it out normally. It's not that I think that he's fantastic or anything, but 2,000 in the 5-hole against a lefty, you at least have to kind of pay attention to it.
Yeah. Again, taking nothing away from Bumgarner, just find it interesting. Some of these prices are cheap, and they are very good from the right side of the plate against southpaws.
2 more to go. Do you think we get in under the 2-hour mark?
I think we're doing fine, man. Let's rock and roll.
Hope everybody's enjoying us talking because it's coming up again directly after this. Mariners and Angels. 4.3 run implied total on both sides. It's a 50-50 game. Marco Gonzalez going for Seattle. Trevor Cahill going for the Angels. Yeah, not going to be a spot where I'm getting too much on FanDuel. If I were playing on DraftKings, not going to be a spot where I'm getting too much. I don't see this as a particularly appealing pitching matchup. I am loading up on the Angels for what feels like the 600th day in a row, and it's only April 2nd.
How's that been working?
It doesn't appear to be great.
Yeah. I mean, this Angels offense, definitely, there's some potency here, right? I think there's also more strikeouts than last season. One guy specifically, Gene Segura leaving the lineup is a pretty big deal from a strikeout standpoint. So you're going to get a decent amount of Ks, but nothing crazy. They're all like slightly worse than league average. Not all of them, but a good amount of them. Edwin Encarnacion, 24% last year. You had Tim Beckham last year at 25%. Domingo Santana was at 33%. That dude likes to strike out. Haniger 21. Uh, so there's a decent amount here. Cahill is always an interesting guy to me just because he does have very, very significant strikeout stuff. We saw his swinging strike rate rise considerably 2 years ago. Um, Started getting more break on his secondary pitches, and I think he is one of these guys that could go out there and have a really strong game, or he could get battered, and it's really hard to tell which one it's gonna be. I don't assume I'll end up with much of him, but he is really cheap.
Yeah, he doesn't grade out like poorly or anything for me. He's just kind of dead middle of the pack. He's
Yeah.
10th out of 20. The salary is fine. Like I would expect him to work in as a rotated through SP2 option.
Yeah, you're gonna have a tough time getting to a lot of them. And then Marco Gonzalez, you alright over there?
Yeah, sorry. I had to put a garbage bag in my garbage can next to me, which is really a fucking loud thing to do.
No worries. Gonzalez is very good at one thing, getting called strikes.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a lot of swing and miss stuff, but he's really great at just painting the corners and getting those called strikes, but that's kind of a tough thing to rely on. It's an Angels team that really isn't gonna K much.
No, I have them with a 17% strikeout rate as a team for this particular game, which is crazy low.
For sure, for sure. So, like, you're the way that you get a good game from Gonzalez is he goes 7 scoreless with, like, 4 or 5 Ks.
Yeah, you wanna get volume of innings.
Mhm. Yeah, is it
and the
doable?
win.
Yeah, is it doable? It is. Is it something that's a very tough thing to hope for because with some pitchers, they can go 7 innings, 0 runs, 5 strikeouts, or they could give up 3 runs across 5 or strike out 10. If Marco Gonzalez starts giving up runs, more than a couple, I don't think he can come back from that, and that's the issue.
Yeah, I can't stop getting to these Angels because of FanDuel's stupid pricing. Because Mike Trout is the best player in baseball by a country mile, and it's super easy to stack them because everybody else is at 2,600 or below, unless it's Cole Calhoun in the 7-hole. So there's not even an impediment to get to Mike Trout in any form. Stacks, one-offs, whatever. Like, it's just really easy. So it's naturally bringing up my Angels exposure, and I'm cool with that. 4 righties at the top. First, third, short outfield. So you're spreading out your exposure across infield positions. It makes it even easier to pair them up with other big outfield bats. Sign me up for some more Angels, I guess. I'll continue to take that beating. Angels and Jays. Angels and Jays.
Yeah.
Here it comes.
Enjoy yourself. All right. Obviously, Trout, of course.
Yeah.
At least some of these guys that don't offer a lot of power, at least they're drawing the platoon advantage where maybe they'll, have a little bit more pop. Is Marte on the active roster?
No idea.
I don't know either. I ask because he's actually pretty decent against lefties. If you saw him slotted into like the 6th hole, it wouldn't be the craziest thing.
The rough spot for Justin Bour.
Oh yeah, not lefty against Gonzalez,
and he sucks against lefties.
Yeah, ground ball or no thanks. Even though he doesn't strike out, I don't really care.
No. You ready to close this one out? Unless you have any other Mariners and Angels takes.
No, let's do it.
Jay Bruce on FanDuel, by the way, 2,900. There's just a sea of Mariners outfielders at the top of the order, but he is significantly less priced. Gets a righty if anybody's looking for a one-off.
I don't think that's crazy at all.
Cahill just caught my eye when I saw one of his rates.
Yeah, Cahill, what was his home run rate last year?
Don't know. Don't have it on here.
Let's see. Oh, wow. That's crazy. 0.65.
That's low.
Across 110 innings? Interesting. Anyway, I'm ready to move on.
Padres and Diamondbacks, final game. 3.8 run implied total for the Padres. 3.6 for the Diamondbacks. 52% chance to win for San Diego. Eric Lauer on the hill for the Pods. Zach Greinke going for Arizona. I will not be getting too much, if any, Greinke on FanDuel. Just not that kind of day. He is my 5th ranked pitcher on DK. I would anticipate getting quite a bit. $7,600 price tag looks really good as a slightly more expensive SP2 option. How do you feel about Greinke today?
Sorry, I saw something in our chat that was outrageous. A DM.
Just tell me after.
Yeah, not a DM to me. Somebody posted.
Oh, Dante Cunningham's?
Yeah. How do I feel about Greinke? He's 7,600 on DraftKings. I mean, yeah, you're reading it now.
It's funny.
76 on DraftKings, 88 on FanDuel. Does that $7,600 price tag not seem a little bit alarming?
It certainly sticks out like a sore thumb, right?
I thought so.
He's going to be really popular at that number.
I mean, the Padres have a 3.8 implied run total, and Greinke's 76. What could I be? I know that they've revamped their offense and all, but
look, Manny Machado is good. He's not that good.
No,
to change everything.
Right. He's a good player. He's much better than anything they had before.
Yeah, there's still 8 other guys that have to hit. One of them being Eric Lauer.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about that, but I mean, you're talking about a guy that held lefties and righties to a sub 300 weighted on base average last year. Struck righties out at 26%. My guess is you still see a lot of righties today. Let's see. Yesterday against Merrill Kelly, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 righties, including the pitcher, Josh.
Yeah.
4.8% walk rate against righties, a 3.34 xFIP. This is last year from Greinke. He pitched 210 innings or something.
We got the boss man's rankings up now. Zach Greinke, one of 3 pitchers on DraftKings to get an A value rating today. Can you guess the other 2?
To get an A value rating, you say?
Yes.
Now that the value rating that is Vargas one of them?
Yes, he is.
All right.
I think
is because they got to be relatively cheap. It wouldn't be Stroman. He's probably like a D.
I'm waiting for you to get it right, and then we sign off of the show, and you're gonna be like, "Yeah, I just looked it up. I wanted to look smarter."
No. I promise you, I'm not. Is it? God, I was tempted to say Eflin, but I'll go with it's Gonzalez or Cahill. It's got to be one of them. I'll go Gonzalez.
Gonzalez and Cahill, both a B. Chris Sale, come on down.
Oh, okay. Usually you don't see guys that expensive with an A. All right. Makes sense to me, though.
I think Chris Sale might have a drinking problem because he's an AA today.
Oh, boy. Good thing the show's almost over.
Shell me Miller.
All right.
Yeah, I love Greinke as an SP2 option on DK today. Not really the kind of direction I need to go on FanDuel. No real interest in Lauer. I can't imagine wanting to take Lauer ahead of Greinke unless ownership is crazy.
Yeah, if Lauer was still really cheap, I would have a lot of interest in him.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot. If he was still at that price that we were getting him at for a while, yeah. I would have like if he was still 5,800 or whatever, I think he might be like the highest owned SP2 I have. Or maybe the highest owned pitcher. I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't. He's made a lot of adjustments. Lauer is not a bad pitcher at all. And you know what, Josh? I wouldn't even be surprised to see a really strong game from him today against Arizona. Yeah. But now that his price is up, I just don't see myself getting there. And it's just a price thing.
I do have Diamondbacks bats as like a mid-tier stack for me, but it's really just one little focus. Wilmer Flores is projected to hit 3rd for the Diamondbacks today. He is 2,300 on FanDuel. He is First and second eligible on DK 4,300, so it's not as appealing there, but 2,300 on FanDuel. For those that play DFS baseball, Wilmer Flores and left-handed pitching go together pretty well.
They certainly do. For a few years straight there, he was like amazing. He had like a 300 ISO against them. Ridiculous.
So he is in play. I get to a little bit of Adam Jones, a little bit of Eduardo Escobar. Nothing too crazy. I don't really love getting a ton of hitting in San Diego, but the price of Flores is just kind of too hard to ignore, especially at a second base spot. It's really being able to pay down for that sort of option and have like really realistic home run capability. I'm a fan. And I have essentially no Padres, basically one stack.
Okay, and that's honestly, I would almost have more interest in a Padres stack just because Greinke does have some proneness to some blow up spots, and if he's going to be one of the highest owned pitchers, the Padres might actually stand out to me as an interesting, low owned tournament play because they do have power in this lineup. While they do have strikeouts too, like Fernando Tatis, we know he has power. Will Myers, Franmil Reyes, a lot of these guys K quite a bit, but they have strikeout or they have home run power. Machado, Hosmer from the left side. I'm kind of tempted to get some San Diego bats in there. I don't think it's the wildest idea. Would your guess be that Greinke's the highest owned pitcher on DraftKings? I would think so.
Him
or Sale?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would. Well, it could be. See, all of those guys could kind of like KD and Steph trying to get MVP votes. They might take away from each other because they're all so similar. So it could be. I would say Greinke is probably one. I think Vargas is going to be up there as well, just because of his price tag. He doesn't really have people to compete with him in his tier.
Right.
But yeah, Greinke would be my, if I had to put money on it, it would be Greinke. As it should be.
Right. That's what I think too. Which means that I don't think the Padres are the craziest idea. Not your highest owned stack, obviously.
Right.
But
and on FanDuel, it's going to be a different story because the ownership is going to be wildly different for Zach Greinke.
Oh, well, that's totally different. Yeah, totally different.
Yeah, on DK, I would be trying to get a couple extra lineups in that spot.
I think that's all I got for this one, Josh.
All right, give me your top two stacks on DraftKings for 11:20 a.m.
So I have to go back to Houston here. This actually is my favorite matchup for the Astros this season so far. I really like it. Toronto, Toronto's obvious.
Yep.
I'm trying to see if there's anything here that kind of doesn't jump off the page, which is what you like. If ownership comes out and Greinke's super high, I will have some interest in San Diego. But man, Houston and Toronto bats, they are going to be wildly popular. I don't see how they aren't. They're in very good spots here.
They are. Look, it's gonna be something that happens for a while, I guess, until prices change. They're simply underpriced to what you should expect their talent level to be.
Right. Exactly.
There we go, everybody. Just a casual 2-hour baseball show from Laffy and I. Expect nothing less. Get ready. We're about to go for 2 hours more on a 4-game NBA slate.
No, I think we'll get it done in an hour.
We will. MLB Strategy is the promo code. 50% off your first month with us. You could use it on any monthly package you choose, including packages with Fantasy Cruncher. For the rest of the day, Laffy and I will be back, I don't know, in like 10, 15 minutes, somewhere in that area, or immediately, but quickly, to walk through the 4 NBA games. We will have Ben and Tim today on at 2:30 talking about the Valero Open, the last week before the Masters next week. Laffy and Adam will be back deeper dive, 4:45. Quick hit on the NBA games, and then breaking down this slate again for baseball. Myself and Chris Spags on from 6 until lock, talking about this slate. And 7 to 8, we've got a late start for NBA today, Fast Eddie Fear. So we don't have to overlap baseball and basketball shows, which is exciting. So we're covering it all today. Non-stop shows on the Awesemo.com YouTube channel. Hit the like button on your way out the door, Laffy. Anything else?
See you in a minute.
Yeah, stick around. Go to the channel, youtube.com/awesemo_com will get you directly to our channel. You'll see all of the videos that will be happening today already scheduled. Go click on that NBA one if you're interested in NBA, because we will be back shortly. Bye, everybody.